Leaving Istanbul, my hometown behind, and starting a new life in another land, a different culture, a different climate, was a big challenge. Such a decision was because of personal circumstances and the volatile political climate. As a female artist and a sole parent of two young people, I had to make sure all three of us had the freedom and prospect for growth in our lives. Between 2008 and 2015, my art had an element of a utopic other land, which my soul was longing to discover. This is what evolved into Sail to Hope. Coming from a traditional Turkish family, I have always been interested in coffee cup fortune telling, lead pouring to repel the evil eye, and that kind of ritualistic, intuitive things. This is totally shamanic, and it's coming from Turkish culture before the Islam. Shamanism is very much related with Mother Earth and being aligned with the earth and nature today and now. The Islam part is totally the opposite. Islam is giving strict rules and training one's ego, which is called nefs, into a kind of humble maturity to be able to go to heaven after death. So this is a big conflict. One is aiming for now when you're alive, one is aiming for afterlife. It is one of the bases of my art. I use intuitive splashes of color and very disciplined details together. Biz kimseye kin tutmayız, ayar dahi dosttur bize. Kanda ıssızlık var ise, mahalle vüşardır bize. Adımız miskindir bizim, düşmanımız kindir bizim. Biz kimseye kin tutmayız, kamu alem birdir bize. My migrant story. I was feeling alienated. It was becoming increasingly a male-dominated world in my homeland. Turkey was turning away from the promise of Western-facing equality, and this was putting a lot of pressure on women. Also, I was observing the constantly changing skyline under construction, as if it was a deliberate attempt to erase the public memory. Istanbul, in my childhood memories, was the center of the world, and now it was becoming rapidly unfamiliar. All these feelings of discontent and anger made me search for other options, and finally I left my country in 2016 with my two children to settle in London, with the hope of a fresh start. Sail to Hope is about being part of the whole, yet still aspiring to belong to a freer, more tolerant world. From 2018, I started playing with colors and materials without any plan. The idea of migration revealed itself as I painted. In the end, it was my own migration story, compounded with the residue of the devastating news of war-related migration, which has forever had a presence in my life. Torn and randomly rearranged maps, paper boats, and tiny stickman figures, without personality, became a symbol of displacement. Bright colors on dark backgrounds represent the attractive and daring nature of hope. Repetitive patterns and stylized shapes like clouds and waves refer to my cultural heritage. In 2020 came the pandemic, and I knew I needed to contribute to the wellness of our community. Since art is a great healer, I wanted to share one drawing a day as both a motivation and an affirmation of our connection with each other and our precious earth. That was the genesis for Art from Within. Drawing and sharing on social media daily became a meditative practice for me. I felt a deepening awareness of our connection with nature and kept on drawing on the theme of Sail to Hope alongside other subjects. Everything starts with play. My working process starts with a playful state of being. The first spontaneous layer guides me, many details then follow. Being an artist from Istanbul, where Europe and Asia meet, has an abiding influence on my artistic style. I found remarkable similarities in the synthesis of musical styles in Tim Garland's music. After being commissioned to paint for Tim's orchestral piece, The Forever Seed, our collaboration grew into a multifaceted project called Moment of Departure. The project has been further enriched along the way with art workshops for diverse communities, many of whom have been interviewed about what hope means to them. The Sail to Hope collection has inspired much of Tim's music on the album and has now inspired many of the workshop participants.
So one of the happy consequences of using Esra Kizir Gokcen's art on a huge projector screen behind us as we played on tour was that we were able to see the art in a new way, a more dynamic way. What Esra often asks of the viewer is to take a closer look, to step towards the canvas, and then all of a sudden you see another layer of detail. Of course, that's what a camera does really well, zooming in and tracing through the different areas and aspects of each picture and perhaps merging two together. So we were able to kind of represent this artwork in a new way, more dynamic and with a kind of a durational aspect to it, which linked it closer to the music. It was fantastic. So one other thing I really respect about Esra's work, and you can see the immediate parallel with how jazz musicians work, is this mixture of two things. One is a playful spontaneity, and the other is a natural architect's eye, an eye for detail and structure, which I say is natural and complements that playful spontaneity really, really well. You can see that in particular in the book of pictures, Art from Within, and that was my entry point actually into the world of her art. Now, amongst so many memories I have of this tour was one where I was looking over at Willem Simcock, the piano player, and he was doing a sort of an extended coda to one of the pieces, just playing, improvising freely on his own. And I realised he wasn't looking down at the keyboard, he was looking up at the projector, because the piano, of course, was facing the back. It was hard for me to see the projections because, of course, I was facing the audience. And I noticed that what he was doing was quite naturally, he was timing all of the chords and what he was playing to the editing of the artwork that he was seeing on screen. And that was another example of something which was both spontaneous but kind of beautifully crafted at the same time.
I like listening to people's stories, trying to understand their circumstances and reflect these in my art. In the series of workshops I held for this project, people from various ages and backgrounds were asked what hope meant for them. Also, every participant made a paper boat and gave a name to it. These paper boats are now a part of the Moment of Departure installation. With the help of two major creative disciplines, music and visual art, I believe we can create a universal language to understand each other in our diverse communities. Here you can see a selection of the artworks made by our workshop attendees between the ages of 7 and 80 from all around the world. We had many memorable encounters during these interviews, such as the little girl who tugged at my jacket insisting on being noticed. Joyfully, she jumped up to sit in front of the camera, and it was only then that we realized she had practically no English. This 7-year-old was, and hopefully still is, studying at a primary school where 44 languages are being spoken. Children from freshly migrated families study at this school till they are sent to yet another location. Adaptation can take its toll on us all, especially the young. But this little girl was the perfect picture of joy, energy, and hope. The 3 words we got from her were Allah, Cennet, which is Arabic for heaven, and doctor. Please join the Hope Talk. Write your definition of hope, your name, and your country of origin in the comments if you're watching this in any social platform, or on a paper boat at the interactive section of the exhibition. Thank you.